The Shaking My Head podcast features interesting discussions about topics that have frustrated the hosts, Alex and David. Each episode is meant to question the quirks of society and bring to light subjects that intrigue or bother us. If you're here because something has you shaking your head, even if it's just life, you're in the right place.
We can do iPhone versus Android. I think we should, because we always say we're going to do it.
Okay. If you go walk around, you go like a place, right? Like that where people are using laptops and working.
Yeah.
I'll say 95% of the laptops you see here in San Francisco are Apple laptops. So if everyone has it, where's the prestige in it? So that means everyone can afford one, right?
Sure.
So there is no, to me, there's no prestige in having it. That just means you're basic now if you have a fucking Apple product.
Sure, but all these people have paid for it, so they have.
But your argument was that there's prestige in it, and I'm telling you, I don't see prestige.
Then it's perceived prestige, because yes, maybe if
they're good. Okay, Apple's good as a marketing company. That's all it is for me. Like otherwise, the internal components are the same as a PC. So if you fancy spending the extra money, sure.
But I think they also like just the smoothness of the application, like the process. Yeah, it's like all controlled and you don't have flexibility and you can't make changes. But I think
fuck that. I don't want to be controlled. I don't want people controlling how I use the product I paid for. If you give me a free product and you'd be like, this is how I use it, I'd be like, okay, maybe fine. But you're a shit ton of money and you're like, this is the only way you can use it, then.
But you're technically controlled. You're just not controlled as much. It's like Microsoft. You're still having to use like Microsoft products.
You don't have to. No, you have the option of not using. You don't have to use Microsoft Office. You don't have to use Microsoft Windows. You can use Linux. There's alternatives. That's the whole point of the piece. Like,
no, but
non-Mac.
Well, I mean, you can use Microsoft products on Mac too. But I'm just saying.
Right.
It's at the point where they actually have a foothold on. Yeah, you don't have to use MS Word, but 99.9% of everyone like uses MS Word in business. It's like Excel is so ingrained. Like, yeah, you could use other stuff. You could use Linux operating system, but they already commanded the market.
But that's the thing, like some people, okay, so some people I've heard who buy a Mac over PC, the reason to do that is like they're a software developer and the underlying, Mac OS is actually based on Linux.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why some people buy it. So, I mean, that's kind of going against what you're saying.
Yeah, but I would still say that for me, because I'm like a simple, but I think I am kind of like the average user of Apple products. Like I'm not doing hardcore coding. I don't need like the ability to control everything because what am I doing? I'm just like browsing the web and maybe checking my email. Like I don't use like that's like the point of Chromebooks too, is to simplify. Well, I mean, Apple's just like a higher end version of that, but they have like better design. I feel like
I would argue no, but okay, continue.
And Chromebooks?
No, I'm saying design of Mac. Talking about Macs or Mac OS or the whole thing?
Whole thing.
Look, I'll tell you this. The last time I had a Mac, and that's the only time I had one, was a MacBook, like the white MacBooks.
Yeah.
In college. My problem with that was shitty design. You see a lot of them like yellow over time, and then I just could never get used to using Mac OS X. I don't think it's as intuitive as people say it is.
Okay.
The other thing is, just because I never really used Mac OS, I was always using Windows on it, so I got rid of it. I was like, there's no reason. So I've tried it, don't care for it. I've tried newer like MacBooks where like they have like the new touchpad where you could do like a really light like tap or like a heavier tap or whatever bullshit that is. People say it's great. I tried it for 5 minutes, couldn't get used to it.
I don't know about the touchpad thing.
Huh?
Yeah, I don't know about the touchpad thing. I haven't experienced that because I have I guess, an older MacBook. The other thing I do like though is that like I feel like MacBook lasts longer.
No.
Because I've gone through multiple.
Okay, but hold on. Before
laptops.
you say that, this is the one biggest argument. Before you go to that, was the PC laptop you bought and the MacBook you bought at the same price range?
No.
That's the biggest problem I have with Apple users. They pay premium for Apple product, but they don't pay premium for PC products or like non-iPhone, like Android phones.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like comparing $1,000 product to like a $300 product. Obviously, the $1,000 product, it should perform better. So unless you compare $1,000 like iPhone to $1,000 Android phone or $1,000 PC laptop to $1,000 Mac laptop, you can't be like, oh yeah, they last longer because you get what you pay for.
Well, okay, so I used to have a iPhone 6 and I had a Samsung S5.
Okay.
They're about the same price, and the Samsung like crapped out.
How did it crap out?
It just got so slow. And
yeah,
then
I mean, iPhones gets like, okay, anything that requires like a processor memory, you're gonna have to like reformat everything, basically start from fresh, because things get bloated and everything. And maybe your like it sounds like your iPhone 6 didn't bloat as much, like didn't slow down as much, but that's just the nature of phones and computers.
I don't know.
Did you ever factory reset your S5? And then
Samsung?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to factory reset. I actually had to buy a new battery too. From Amazon.
But batteries are wear items. I mean, even iPhones still.
But it shouldn't be. That's the point. That's what I'm saying. I'm like.
But okay, the thing is, like, you're saying I had to buy a battery for a Samsung. My point I'm trying to make is you're gonna have to buy a battery for the iPhone at some point, anyways. Like that has nothing to do with.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like iPhones, other than the one time where they had the battery issue because they were draining the battery. They don't let you switch. They don't really let you switch the battery because the point is, build the phone.
You buy a new phone and
the point is I build the phone well enough so you don't need to even worry. Like, I think that's
they do that because they do that for design. They don't do that because we built the phone well enough. Batteries are wear items. They always wear out.
I don't think you have to think about. I think you think they're wear items because you've always like.
No, they are wear items. They do lose overall capacity over time. That's how batteries work.
I get it, but it
doesn't design a phone so well that you never replace the battery. That's not how it works.
Okay, so I'll give another example. I've had to buy a I've had to buy a replacement power cord for my laptops multiple times. Okay. Because they like die so fast.
How do they die? Is it from the cord being tangled or?
No, I think they die just from dying out because they're just plugged in. But I've never had to replace my MacBook power cord.
I've never had to replace a power cord on a laptop ever, even for a non-Mac. So I can't really comment on that, but I will say that they did have problems with their like the MagSafe power adapters when they first came out. And I've seen like my parents have a computer repair store, and there are Mac power adapters that go out too. Okay, so what's coming down to between you and me right now is your experiences versus mine, or your experiences versus other people. I'm telling you, like, from what I've seen and what I've heard, these experiences you're talking about other people have experienced. So, and that makes sense. So like for branding overall, if you go with something, you never have issues. You'd be like, oh, this is the greatest product ever. But you always have issues with it. You'd be like, this is the shittiest product. So that does make sense. But
Sure.
like I've used different phones. Like I'm not a fan of Korean phones.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Korean phones anymore.
Still buy them. Long story short, right now I'm usually using Google devices because they're streamlined, kind of like Apple. But there's someone I met who had an older Pixel. And he's comparing prices between the Pixel 4 and the iPhone 11. And the iPhone 11 has dropped in price, like just the regular 11. The pricing is actually pretty good, where he considered going for we actually bought the iPhone 11. And these days, the only reason I really upgrade a phone is because of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Like, technology is usually good enough where it's fast enough and whatnot. So if the Pixel 4, let's say the Pixel 4 and the iPhone 11 was the same price, which I think it is, I would consider. I wouldn't say I would buy it for sure because I've used iPhones before and Macs before, and I just can't get used to it. But assuming that I can get used to an iPhone 11, I like the UI and all that, I'll consider an iPhone 11. Anything before an iPhone 11, no.
But you're saying primarily because of the camera.
The camera I heard is really good on the iPhone 11, and I heard like the iPhone 11 is a huge step up overall over the iPhone X and phones.
Isn't the Pixel 4 camera better than the iPhone 11 camera?
I don't know.
Okay.
I know they're very comparable, but I heard the iPhone 11 camera is pretty good. As you can tell, I've stopped caring much about phones.
I mean, at some point, the phone camera is so good that it does the job.
It does the job in most situations. It's just kind of like the Apple using Mac ARM processors on MacBooks. Like, you don't really need a separate camera, like a dedicated camera for most situations. The cameras are on phones. So, I mean, I've like, in case you guys are wondering, I have a Pixel 3 right now, and I've had it. I think this is the longest I've ever actually had a phone, and this is like the first phone I've ever cracked too. I guess I'm just changing, but I've had this phone since November 18, so it's almost a year and a half.
That's nothing.
For me, that's a lot.
Why? Why?
User than most people.
You're a what? Heavy user?
Different user. Yeah, maybe heavy, but I'm just a different user than most people.
How long do you
My priorities have changed. I feel like.
How long do you usually keep a phone then? Like 1 year?
Not even.
Wow. And is it just because like you need better processing, or you're like there's not enough space?
No, space isn't usually an issue, and I mean, I do store a lot of stuff, but I mean, I just make it work for space. Like, space shouldn't be for most phones. Okay, so that's the other thing. Android phones, you can buy some phones where you just put in an SD card and just have extra space. But like a Google Pixel and iPhones, you can't do that, and they charge you a fucking premium for that, which I'm against too.
But the point is, like, you shouldn't be in this old technology of SD card. Like the SD card, you limit yourself.
How's it limit? It's essentially the same thing as using memory on your. I mean.
No, because an SD card is limited by the physical ability of an SD card, which is like.
What do you mean by that?
You can. Okay, so what's like the highest memory you can have on an SD card?
You could buy like a 512 gig or 1 terabyte now.
You could have 20 terabytes. It doesn't matter on an SD card.
Okay.
But like technology is going toward the cloud, so like.
Okay, I have a problem with that, but continue.
No, but you might. Yeah, I understand you.
No. So you're going to the cloud.
What I'm saying is like this is like where the world is going. Eventually, I know there's like security stuff and there's maybe issues with that, but that's something that we have to like go towards because eventually that's the way.
Sure, when it's mature and when you can get around it. Okay, security is one thing. Here's my other problem.
What is the percentage of people getting hacked like for their photos? Unless you're like storing your like personal passport and identity codes online. Don't you store passwords online? You don't store any passwords online.
No.
So how do you remember all your passwords? You just write them down?
No.
Oh, it's the same password?
What, man, you're such a perfect Apple user. You're like, I want everything to be convenient, security to be damned. I just want the convenience. Okay.
No, I'm not saying security
to be damned. Talk about security. Here's my biggest problem.
Okay.
I store stuff on the cloud. Like, I get free Google storage on the image storage on
right,
the
for Pixel, right? Yeah.
Here's the problem. You store your images on the internet in the cloud. It gets deleted from your phone, right? As like an option. Or if you need to free up space.
Yeah. Okay.
What happens if you don't have service?
Then you can't upload it.
And no, what if you need to view a photo? I don't care about the upload. Uploading can happen when you have service again, but let's say you have shitty reception somewhere and you need to go pull up a photo and you can't pull it up because it's on the cloud.
Then you can't pull it up. I mean, that's the same as like if you're.
So then, if you want to see a photo, then you just shit out of luck.
Yes, that's just how.
You sound like Steve Jobs right now. Okay, we don't need picture messages on the original iPhone.
You're bringing up a very specific example.
But I feel like people are always pulling up photos on their phone. It's not a specific. A lot of people do it, and then if it's on the cloud, you can't get to it, which happens.
I mean, yes, you're shit out of luck for that like one time, but when you come back into a service area, it's not unless you're like in the mountains for months.
You could be inside. You could be in the basement or somewhere and not have reception in the city. But
yeah, well,
I feel like this is a valid point because it's not just. I feel like there's people who.
I don't think that's an issue because.
But you can't talk. You can't speak on behalf of everyone. I'm sure there's other people who are.
No,
like,
I'm not. Yes, I'm sure people.
So let me just finish. Okay, so you're saying you can just wait till you have service and then show the photo or pull up the photo, right?
Yeah.
But what if like you forget about it then and you like it's something you want to do then like.
Right. Again, you're bringing up a specific example.
Yes, but I'm saying this is a very like. This is an example that affects me a lot. I'm sure it does other. But just let me finish.
Okay.
So you're supposed to have the convenience, right? The cloud's supposed to convenience you get stuff anytime you want, wherever you want, whatever. But you can't get the photo now, and then like let's say you're interacting with someone trying to show them the photo, and you have to wait till you get to service, like 30 an hour later. Isn't that kind of the opposite of the point of having stuff on the cloud, accessing anytime you want, anywhere you want?
No, I don't. So I don't necessarily think the reason of the cloud is so you can have access 24/7.
I think the point is to be able to access it. Like
I think the point of the cloud is to be able to. You're not storing things on. You're not limited by what you can store on the phone.
Okay, so what you're saying right there is if you store something on your phone you don't put it on the cloud, you can only access it on your phone.
If I store something on my phone and then upload it to the cloud.
No. We're talking. You're saying about the cloud, right? And not right. It's not being the point of it's not to be able to access it anywhere. I'm trying to tell you that if you just store stuff on your phone locally, you can only access it on your phone. If you put it on the cloud, you can access it from anywhere.
Yes, if you put it on the cloud, you can access it anywhere. If you have like Wi-Fi connection or internet connection, correct?
Right, but we're not that connected yet.
We're not, but where
you always have connectivity.
True, we're not 100% there, but then your reasoning is like this: if you're in the basement and you don't have Wi-Fi and you can't pull up a photo, well then you can't. If you need an email, you can't pull up an email either.
Right, but
so you're going to be shit out of luck in these.
But the whole argument we're talking about is You're saying that micro SD cards are pointless and the storage is not needed on phones anymore because you put it on the cloud. I'm trying to explain to you why that's not necessarily the case. And then now you're jumping to emails.
No, but
tell me why an SD card is nice to have if you need that space and to be able to access your stuff. And that's, yes, it could be a very specific use case, but storage is still important. I think you can't just. I don't think it's a good idea to put everything on the cloud. If you need something in case of emergency or something, and you don't have internet access, which is not enough.
So for your situation of I need something in case of an emergency, my counter argument would be, what is it that these emergency things, unless it's like I need to like call 911, and if I don't have service, then that's a problem. But if it's I can't pull up an image because it's in the cloud, yeah, maybe you need it, quote unquote need it at that point. But I think
that's not an emergency item.
But isn't that what you were saying? It's like if I was in the basement and I wanted to show someone a photo and I couldn't because it's in the cloud. That was your emergency situation, right?
No, that's not an emergency situation. What I'm saying is, no, I never said it was an emergency situation. I'm just saying, what I said about emergency situations is you shouldn't be putting everything on the cloud. Like if in case of emergency situations, like if there's like a document you need in an emergency situation, don't put and you need to access it. Let's say it's like.
Okay, so I will agree with that. I will agree. Like, okay, so an example I will give, which will support your argument, is,
okay.
You know how you should always have your passport photo?
Yeah, sure, something like that, yeah.
When you go traveling to another country, whether you printed out a hard copy
yeah.
or you take a photo of it and then you keep it on your phone. That way, if you ever not have Wi-Fi, you could still pull it up.
Right.
So I get that situation. But I still don't think that, like, technology today, I think SD cards are almost gonna. It's like the same thing as USBs. They're gonna go out. Like, there's no reason to have it because the phone itself will have enough internal memory to be enough for what you need for these emergency situations, and then everything else. You are not bound by any SD card memory size. If you need 1 billion terabytes, you could do it because your phone space is technically the phone plus the cloud.
I don't know. Okay, so yeah, if you're willing to pay up the ass for billions of however much space, like you pay for the space online versus
that's just
doing a one-time investment for a card.
I get it, but
we can get into the argument about hold on, just take a step back. Okay. We can argue about like SD cards versus the cloud. We could argue about this all day long. I agree. There's advantages, disadvantages.
Okay.
But back to what I was saying originally, the whole thing I was getting at is, yeah, some people need storage, some people don't, most people don't. But also, if you want that storage, you have to, like, just to get an extra 64 gigs of RAM on your fucking phone costs like an extra $100. It's fucking ridiculous. And it's not just Apple. I'm just saying phones in general. This is like kind of like the thing I was just talking about, and then we just kind of went off tangent.
Okay. So you're saying the additional memory.
So I'm saying having, like, if you need an additional storage and you can get a phone that allows you to put in an additional storage, that is a nice feature to have if you need it.
You mean an SD card is.
So if you can buy a phone that lets you put an SD card and you're not bound by because like the Pixel, Apple phones, it's fixed storage. You can't once you buy the phone, that's that, unless you buy another phone.
Correct.
So I'm just saying, like, a nice thing to have about Androids is the fact that some of those phones will let you put an SD card, and then you're not overpaying, first of all, for storage, and second of all, you can insert multiple cards or whatever. You can buy different capacities.
Okay, so I understand this argument of you're not paying more for more storage, and you can just like tailor your size of SD card. But But to me, that sounds so backward.
Why?
Because why did you create an SD card in the first place? So why do phones have SD card slots in the first place? Because the internal storage of the phone is not enough to satisfy the user, correct? Like as much internal storage.
Way back in the day, yes.
Well, why do new phones have SD cards then?
Because it gives the user the option to have more space if they need more.
If they need more, right?
They're not bound by however much memory that manufacturer includes.
It's shipped, right? It's shipped with the phone.
Yeah.
Are they not bound per se? Are they not bound by the biggest SD card that size available?
Well, okay. What I'm saying is, okay. If I need to be like crystal clear about this, you buy a phone that's 128 gigs, you're stuck to 120 gigs. Period. If you have a phone that has a micro SD card, say it has 128 gig capacity built in as well,
yeah,
and you use up the 128 gigs,
yes,
and you don't want to delete anything off of it, go buy a fucking SD card and stick it in, and then you're not bound by that 128 gigs. You're bound. Yes, you're bound by however much the SD card size is, but you're not. You have the option to expand.
Okay. Okay, I got it. So let's say you bought a 128 gig phone.
Okay.
And then let's say the biggest SD card on the marketplace is
512 easily.
Is 512?
You can. I know there's a 512 for sure. I don't know.
So if 512, you got like 700 gig of space, right?
Yeah. What
happens if you need more than 700 gigs?
Then you replace SD cards or look. Yeah. Okay, but what's your argument? You have 700 gigs, and then what?
My argument is this.
And you use up 700 gigs on your phone, and then what?
Then I'm going to be going into the cloud anyways.
Gigs. Huh?
Then I'm going to be going into the cloud anyways. If I use up 700 gigs on my iPhone, really? I'm not buying another SD card. Everything beyond 700 gigs is going into the cloud.
No.
In fact, I don't even need a 700 gig phone anymore. Yes, I have a 700 gig phone. It's nice to have. But like for me, I'm like, if I could do 128 gigs, anything beyond, because I don't really need 700 gigs of emergency space.
That's your use case. And it's not it's not emergency space like.
But this,
I don't know what this argument is about. I'm just saying, I'm just making the point that people want the option to put in a card. They can't. It's like some people just want that option. I'm not saying it's me. I'm not saying it's you. I'm just saying this is what's nice about an Android phone. Like you can have the option of that.
And I get people want and so this is probably a fundamental argument of like.
I don't think this is an argument. It's just like you prefer using the cloud, and I'm just trying to say that this is a benefit. I'm not arguing that, I'm not arguing anything. I'm just saying I'm just making a point of this is an advantage. But if you don't argue about the cloud, I don't know how that really comes into play here because it's just really personal preference. If you want to use the cloud, you can. But if you want to be a user that has an SD that wants to have the option to put an SD card. Mm-hmm. You can too. I don't think there's an argument there.
No,
it's personal preference.
My argument, yes, I understand it's personal preference, but this is again back to our talk about like Apple products kind of limit you in terms of you have to use their system.
Okay, right? And you're fine with that, right?
Right, and you're not fine with that, right? But then. I guess what I'm thinking is, some people are not going to get the option, and that sucks. But don't you see the future it being okay? So every year phones get more and more like memory, right?
No,
they don't.
No, like usually the biggest storage space you can buy is like 256.
Okay, so 10 years ago there was no 5 years ago, there was no 1 gig phone.
Yeah, there was.
Was there?
You could buy phones up to 64 gig easily, maybe 128.
Sorry, not gig, terabyte.
There's no phone that has 1 terabyte right now.
Okay, so I don't know what the...
You could probably buy up to 512 right now.
You could buy up to 512 gigs.
Okay, but you're paying like $300 over.
And then 10 years ago there was no 512 gig phone. Like max was, let's say, 100 gig.
Okay, sure.
So every year, like, the size of phones advance.
They haven't really advanced much, is what I'm saying, in the last few years.
And why is that?
It's because I'm guessing that most people just don't need that space.
Okay, if you don't need that space...
Because most users don't need that space, and that's why it's sold as a premium. Here's my other argument. If you want to talk about like cloud being the solution, here's another problem that I used to have, and a lot of people have as well right now. What's your data cap? Okay.
Period.
My point is, so you can turn off uploads to the cloud if you're not on Wi-Fi.
Sure.
But the potential issue I see is if you're on cell and you want to upload photos to the cloud to like free up space, and you don't have Wi-Fi. Yeah, once you hit your data cap, then you're fucked. Like if we had unlimited data, I think if we had unlimited data and not an exorbitant price, and then also we had better coverage overall, which does have to do with carrier. Sure, cloud is a good way to go.
But that's what's going to happen. Like,
yeah, but we're not completely there yet, but they're already pushing for it. We're getting there, but we're not there, and then they're pushing for putting everything on cloud.
We may be a little too early to push everything to it, but that's just how it's going to be. Like, for example, no company is going back and going backward.
I'm not saying that either. I'm just telling you, like, that's the problem I have with going with cloud right now. And there's things I mean, sure, some photos I'm fine with storing on the cloud, but there's other things I want personal storage for.
What do you think about the headphone jack thing that Apple phones?
I want a headphone jack. I don't want to go forward and like.
Bluetooth, doesn't Pixel not have a headphone jack anymore?
Yeah, that's one thing I don't like about this phone.
Yet you bought it.
And do you want me to tell you why I bought it?
Yeah, go ahead. No, I mean,
the reason I upgraded to this phone is because they offered $1,000 in gift cards. Like, okay. So basically, however much you spend on the phone, they'll give you the same amount in gift cards. So essentially, I get like $1,000 in free travel gift cards, or I get a phone for free.
So if the Pixel 4 did not offer you any kind of discounts, you wouldn't get it?
I wouldn't have upgraded even to the Pixel 3 without this discount. I would have just stuck with my original Pixel.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I came back to, so it comes back to what I was saying earlier, like, I don't really upgrade unless the camera's better. So the camera was better, and I got basically either free phone or free travel gift cards.
So what are you going to do?
I'd still probably be on a Pixel right now.
So what are you going to do with your next phone? You going to wait till a deal? That's it?
I'll figure it out then, but that's the reason why I got this phone. I would probably wait till the phone dies and then figure something out. If you ask me if I'm going to buy an iPhone or Android as the next phone, I can't tell you right now because it really comes down to what's available at that point. The Pixel 5 sounds like, what's interesting about what Google's doing is with the Pixel 5, it's not going to be a flagship phone anymore. It's going to be like a medium, like run-of-the-mill phone, because I think they found out that with like the Pixel, the 3A, and they're coming out the 4A, which is basically like the lower end version with the same camera, they get a lot more sales because, like me, people care more about the camera is what people care about more these days, and have the fastest processor, because like you only really need a faster processor for gaming, really, or graphics processing unit for gaming. Like for most, at least today, for most applications, you really don't need that fast processor for most people.
Yep.
So, ask me again whenever my phone dies. But the only issue I have right now with the phone is it's slowed down a little bit. It's been a year and a half, and I broke the screen. But it's still usable. I mean, it's like hairline fractures.
Mm.
But I mean, whenever it dies, I'll figure it out, or like I just don't have the need to upgrade right now. And then back to your question, yeah, I'd rather have a headphone jack, but this phone was free and didn't come with a headphone jack, so I'll deal with it. But I don't like using adapters because it's an extra thing to carry, and then you're either out on the go or traveling when you need the adapter, right? And in Bluetooth headphones, my problem is they're not cheap, first of all. If you want something like as good as wired headphones, they usually never sound as good as wired headphones because there's always some kind of compression through the Bluetooth protocol. And my biggest gripe, especially when you're traveling or whatever, is like it's an extra device to charge versus just plugging into your phone and just using it. So if you take like, this is a very specific scenario, as I'm going to say, but if you take like a 12-hour flight and you have headphones, like most Bluetooth headphones, they only last like 5 or 6 hours before you have to charge them.
Mm-hmm.
Versus where you just have wired headphones, plug them into your phone and charge your phone at the same time. It's more bulkiness for when you're on the go. And the sound quality isn't any better, which again, sound quality doesn't matter to a lot of people. Like
sound quality, yeah. But bulkiness, I think wired is more bulky in my opinion. Yeah, you're not carrying the charging pack per se.
But the thing is, when you're carrying, okay, so it's like wireless earphones, you have to carry the charging case. And I feel like it's a lot easier to lose like an AirPod than wired headphones.
I get those arguments.
But yes, so like, okay, earpods you're paying $150 for the basic ones. Is that right?
I mean,
and then you can get regular headphones for like a nice pair for $20-$30 that have the same or better sound quality.
Yeah, you could buy like a standard
product.
You can buy standard wireless headphones. That's fine. I think, but I still prefer wireless over wired. Just period. Like convenience factor.
I honestly don't. Okay, the dongle sucks having to carry, but to me, it honestly doesn't matter. Like I didn't have Bluetooth headphones maybe 6 to 8 months ago, and now I have like 3 different sets. But
oh, really? What kind?
I have how familiar with Sony or with headphones in general, like the wireless ones?
I know the high-end ones, but
okay, I have the Jabra Elite 65T Actives, which I told you about. Those are probably normally $100 headphones, or earphones, but they're known for being like kind of weather sealed or water sealed, so like they're good for exercising.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other two I have are Sony's. One's the over the ear and one's the in ear noise canceling headphones, which I'm sure you've heard about because those are always
the
mentioned.
Sony. Yeah, I've heard about the Sonys. You're talking about the over ear, the foldable ones.
I have the second gens of those, and then I have the Sony earphones that are basically the headphone version, just as earphones.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I when I was researching over-ear headphones, it was either like get the Sony or there was really 3. It was the Bose, the Sony, or the Beats.
And I'm telling you, the Beats are if you talk, yeah, because you're a basic bitch. But, the Beats, so people might think the Beats. So I think the Beats are designed to cater to most people, like sound-wise, or what people think is like good sound quality.
I don't think they're the greatest sound quality, but they have the Apple integration.
I've heard things about Apple integration. Some sounds kind of cool, but
voice command.
Yeah, so does other headphones. Like the Sonys will work with Siri and also will work with Google Assistant.
Mm.
But I mean, I've heard, so the integration I was talking about is where you can use So like if you have like a MacBook and an iPad, you can use like the iPad as a second screen, which is kind of cool. Also, I thought what was kind of cool too is, which I didn't know about, is with earpods, if you have multiple devices around you, I think whichever device is active, it will pair with that device seamlessly, which is kind of cool too. What I was gonna say is maybe Apple products do pair better with Bluetooth, but here's another thing, like I feel like Bluetooth can sometimes be kind of finicky, where you just plug in your headphones and it'll just work. And with Bluetooth headphones, it might have issues pairing or something.
I do agree. Bluetooth is finicky just overall.
Yeah, it's just I just like actually having a wire sometimes is just nicer. Even like with Wi-Fi versus Ethernet, maybe I'm just old school, but
you are
shit just works.
It does just work.
And it's faster usually.
But I think technology will get to the point where Bluetooth will be seamless, or the next level of Bluetooth, whatever that is, will be seamless.
But they've already advanced it. They already advanced Bluetooth 1 or 2 generations within the last year or two.
Yeah, but it does need to get to the point where there's like a lot less drop rates and stuff.
Because that's my whole argument about things. I feel like things if they're not completely mature, they're a nuisance to me. So that's kind of what I was saying, like my priorities changed about stuff. I just want shit that works now. Like I used to like finicky, just fiddle with things, right? To just like optimize things out of it. But now it's just like for fun, for instance, I just want it to work. So, but I mean, even like voice recognition, it's still not completely. It's gotten a lot better, but it's still not there.
It's still not there.
The only time I really use voice recognition is if like my hands are full.
Don't you use your Alexa? Oh, I mean, did you have it in your apartment?
Phone. The only reason I use it's an Amazon Echo, by the way. And the only reason I use my yes, the reason I use my Amazon Echoes because I have these the Philips Hue bulbs, like light bulbs.
Yeah.
And I can use that to turn on lights. That's the only reason I use the Amazon Echo.
How long do those bulbs last?
I've had them since 2017, and they're still good. They're LED bulbs, so they last a long time, longer than your tungsten bulbs. But also, tungsten bulbs are designed to fail intentionally. It's like you can manufacture better bulbs, but they do it on purpose so that you buy more. I mean, it's also why I'm like not for self-driving cars right now, because shit's scary. It has the potential to be scary.
We're still in the experimental
We are, so I'm gonna wait till it's mature until I start using it.
That'll be a long time.
I have no need to jump into it right now. The only reason I want an electric car is because I can heat up or cool down the car before I get in. Other than that,
a lot of people are already using the self-driving, right? So it should be already.
Not a lot of people have self-driving. The people who have self-driving, I'm sure, the people who purchase them, I'm sure, are using it. But I don't think there's that many people that have self-driving.
Okay.
Right? You can only get them on Teslas right now, and unless you have a Tesla, which is not everybody, like a lot of people,
right?
Self-drive.
You have to have the highest end Tesla, right?
No, you buy it as an option. And then this is the reason I don't like companies like Apple and Tesla, like companies with that same model. You want for self-driving, if you sell your car to someone else, then the next person has to pay for self-driving. It's not a feature with the car; it's with the owner.
So what happens when you sell it? How do they know that you sold it though?
Because to retain warranty and stuff, you have to sell it through a Tesla or a Tesla authorized seller. So if you buy an auction car, like a car that's been auctioned through third party or something that's not authorized, Tesla will more than likely disable supercharging on your car, so it takes forever to charge your car.
They can disable it remotely?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting.
They can disable autopilot. They can disable your car if they want.
Oh, so if you sell it, you have to do it through an authorized.
My understanding is you have to. Yeah.
Interesting. Very Apple business model-esque.
Yeah, and fuck that. That's stupid. I'm not paying money for that kind of money for that stupid shit.
People do though.
Yeah, people do. I'm not dumb.
So, like,
I'm trying to get backlash for this, but I don't care. I'm just not dumb.
When you use the self-driving, do you have to share? Is it an option to share the data to Tesla?
I have no idea.
Because
here's the other thing.
I can see that as a way for them to improve because they need to get like test data.
They're always, so I think, I'm not sure, but I think they're always collecting data. It doesn't matter if you're self-driving, whatever, they're always collecting data from your car.
Okay.
And then for cloud stuff, like say Google Photos, I don't know, I'm sure this may be the same for Apple Photos or what we do for iCloud, but I'm pretty sure Google uses the images for improving their products.
Oh,
so it's not just like the consumer wins, the manufacturer wins, or the software company wins too. They both get benefits out of it.
I think you told me this before because they use the photos to improve the facial recognition.
Yep.
And all the other now they have like the Google shopping thing, right? Where it's like Amazon does that, where it's like you take a photo of something and then it finds it in the web to buy.
I'm pretty sure Google searches do that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the thing is that they're also using your data to improve their products too. So if you're okay with that, that's cool. If not, then
if you're not, you're shit out of luck. You got to buy a different phone. That's just how it works.
You have to buy a different phone. You just don't upload photos to. But the thing is, if you have a smartphone, they're always collecting data from you. Like traffic, they're collecting data from your phone too.
Sure.
That's how. So I mean, it just depends. Like, yeah, like it's partially it's privacy, but also you're basically giving your data away for free to these companies too.
Yeah, but that's not a new thing.
It's not a new thing, but I think a lot of people either don't care or don't know about it. I think most people don't know about it. It's the same exact shit with internet services like Comcast, AT&T. They can collect your data for anything. It's part of the net neutrality thing.
Yeah.
So, and then for cell phone providers, yeah, it probably helps them with analyzing traffic and collecting data to sell to advertisers.
Well, this is the world.
It is, and it's just how much you can just go with it, or with say Android, you may have, well, maybe not. But I'm just saying, my point is to be able to have the option for certain things is nice, instead of just giving in to whatever the company says you can only do with your phone. That's my biggest problem. That, and I can't get used to using a Mac or an iPhone, so there's no reason for me to buy something I don't like to use.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to personal preference. But I definitely will call people out for shit that's definitely not true. Because, yeah. You can't argue that. And like I said, the biggest thing is when people are like, oh yeah, iPhones are so much better than Android. And then like I said, my first question is, how much is your Android phone and how much is your iPhone?
That's all for this week. Thank you for listening to the podcast, and tune in next week for more stories about what has got us shaking our heads.